Frustrations ran high this week as many parents were left in the dark about where their children will be placed for 2023. The academic year started on the 11th, but many children had no schools to go to as they were not placed. So what's the situation at the moment? For more on this, I'm joined by the Gauteng Education Spokesperson, Steve Mabona, who joins us virtually. Steve, thank you for your time as always. I must thank you for always being available, even though we do have to speak to you quite often because there's always some kind of drama or administration issues that need to be sorted out, especially at the beginning of the year. Now, I remember when news came through, it must have been the middle of last year, where your department announced that you're now already making these links available so that you have enough time to sort out all of the thousands of children that need to be placed for grade 1 and grade 8 for next year. So now you've got more than enough time to troubleshoot whatever might come your way. But it seems it still wasn't enough time. Have you been able to get a sense over the last few days of troubleshooting what the main issues have been?
Yes, good afternoon, Marcel. Yes, we have been working tirelessly with our officials just to understand on how we're going to be assisting those parents of learners that are not placed. We have announced yesterday that we have now over 571 those that we still need to place, and we are working throughout the weekend just to make sure that by the time it's Monday latest, we should be in a position to have placed those that are outstanding. Yes, it's a year in, year out, but when you assess the numbers very closely, you will see that the numbers are lesser of those that they would have said we are not placed or we seek assistance in terms of placement. So we are improving the system. We are improving the way we do our work. The only challenge that we have is capacity. And where we are challenged, we then augment with mobile units. We provide funding to schools to do what we call self-build. They increase more classrooms. So in the high pressure areas that we have identified now, we are also using what we call specialist rooms. Like in Kempton Park, we are going to use those rooms. That's why we managed to place there. In Olifantsfontein, we are giving them more mobile units. We're going to be placing there at that school. In Florida, we are building a satellite school. And in Tshwane West, there's 2 satellite schools that we are finalizing so that we can then accommodate those that are unplaced.
Let's talk about those numbers. So now you're saying 571 are still to be placed. Of course, against the backdrop of, I think the numbers that the department gave us was that you received almost 140,000 completed applications for grade 1 and over 150,000 applications for grade 8. So one must just keep that in mind. You're dealing with a large number of applications. So 571 is not a large number, but I suppose for every child and every family, it is as important. But there are also appeals that are lodged. So if you could just explain the difference there. 571 kids that need to be placed, but you've also received a few thousand appeals. Now, are those from students that have been placed, they are in a school, but the parents are unhappy with the placement? Can you perhaps just give us some clarity there?
Yes, thanks very much. You will understand that we are talking about over 291,000 of those that we have, placed. And you will then realize that the number will then be been reducing, when you assess. So you will then be looking at the number of appeals that we have received. If you appeal, it means that we would have provided space for you. So those are the parents that would have said, for different reasons, I don't want this school, probably it's far. I don't want it because it's not what I applied for, so I don't want it. Or it doesn't work for me because when I look at the transportation, probably I'll be using 2 or 3 taxis. Or it's not convenient for me because it's very far from where I work. So when you appeal, you give us those reasons, and then the MEC will be in a position to, look at those reasons and see whether you can be accommodated. But most of them, it's more about preference, which is unfortunate because really, when you look at the number of applications that we have received in the what you call high pressure schools, those schools that would have received probably over 1,000 applications, you will not be in a position to place all of them. If you have a capacity of about 300, surely the 700 parents will be aggrieved. They will not be happy. They will tell you that the system does not work for them, but will always insist that the issue that we have here is capacity. Because when you look at the parents that are at our district offices now, there are those that are saying we need space for inner grades. And the inner grades, we don't use a system there. They would have went to different schools and schools would have said, we don't have space. And they come to us as a recourse because we will have an aerial view of what is happening in our schools and we'll be in a position to assist them. And we have advised them to come probably from the 24th so that we then accommodate them because we will know who came back, who didn't come back, in our schools so that they are accommodated accordingly.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for that update. Gauteng Education Spokesperson Steve Mabona. We'll leave it there because I'm pretty sure we're going to have to get updates from you throughout the coming days as well, as you try and place those some 571 students that still need to be placed and work your way through a few thousand appeals of parents that are not completely happy or cannot deal with the implications of the schools that their kids have been placed in.